Alright everyone, welcome back. This is going to be a short video I'd like to kind of do a fight analysis on. This was me playing on NSP. We were facing SBI. They had spent hours basically trying to break into a tier 3 bay that we had under our control. This is on their borderlands, and they were not happy. And after a couple hours, they had exhausted all the supply in our keep, and they ended up busting in the northeast wall. If you look at the map at the bottom right, you'll see that our commander and a lot of the team had ended up wiping. If you check the map, a lot of dead bodies. And SBI at this point is roughly 1.5 times their size, I would say. And they're making their way towards the inner bay. So, what is special about this fight? Why am I showing you guys this? So, this is showing you how you can do a lot of contribution as a thief during a keep defense. Thieves are really good during keep defense, in my opinion. You need to be doing a different role than what you normally would be doing if you were part of the main Zerg. So I don't single-handedly win this victory for us here, but there's a lot of things I do which greatly contribute to the successful defense we have of Bay here. So let's go ahead and watch a little bit here. So first thing I do is, like always, I'm just kind of analyzing. We just walked in from Vale side here, and we're looking and seeing how many people we're dealing with, and obviously it's a lot of people. They jumped down, and they're heading up to the inner bay. You can see people on our team slowly trickling in. So what I do, kind of what anyone else would do, simply gliding down, getting to inner, so we could kind of take a census, see where we're at, see what is needed. Now, as you can tell, I'm not in a squad. I'm not coordinating with the commander. I'm not in TeamSpeak, nothing. I'm just by myself right here. So, in a way, I could be contributing more if I was, obviously in TeamSpeak, that sort of thing. But I want to show you that you can contribute a lot, even just playing by yourself like this. So, the first thing that you want to do in this situation here is you want to see if it's possible to get on siege, or to build siege, which is relevant here. Now, first thing I do when I walk up the stairs here is I'm looking around to see if there's any relevant siege I can use. There's a lot of arrow carts, and there are a couple of cannons and mortars, but everything is essentially occupied. I walk up to this cannon and try to build it, but I recognize it's only partially built, so I kind of cancel that animation there, and I continue along the wall to determine if there's any other bits of siege that I can utilize here. So up next here, I have at this moment basically determined that there is unfortunately no arrow carts, no siege that I can directly use. There are a couple of arrow carts being built up to the top left of the screen, but for the most part it's kind of a vain attempt. So I kind of give up on the idea of hopping on siege. There's also quite a few people trying to break in, so it's maybe not worth me spending my time building siege. I should just try to do as much direct damage right now as possible. So pull out my short bow, and pretty standard stuff. Just try to jump off the side, lay down some damage on them. And you can see right here that the wall has gone down. Obviously this is a bit problematic because now they can trickle in. Kind of run back. This was partially just, instinct, second nature, whatever you want to call it. And I end up falling as the second wall here collapses. I'm not really in any danger. Most Zerg groups, they're not going to kind of single out a single person here, especially a thief, so I'm not really in any danger. The group runs by. So at this moment, you can see that for the most part, their Zerg is doing just fine. Everyone's at pretty high health. However, there are a couple members which are running through, which are at lower health. You could kind of take a census here. Most people, are around 100%, but there are a couple people at 75% or lower. So take out my short bow, lay some poison down, getting the poison on them, just, one thing they have to worry about cleansing. Also, it's a fast projectile, unlike the cluster bomb, so it's kind of a good way to just, lay some quick damage down, may as well, while the Zerg is running in the door there. So at this moment, this is a critical decision I made. This is where my contribution starts to go up significantly. So here we've got some decision that I made, which is kind of what you want to be doing if you're a thief. You want to be looking for other things to do. Now, obviously, most people are going to be in the Lord Room or kind of scattered around the inner area, and they're going to be trying to, just engage in combat with the enemy Zerg, prevent them from capping, prevent them from killing the Lord, that sort of thing. But as a thief, your contribution is going to be quite limited when you do that. Main reason is because you're squishy, and you cannot push in with a melee train or anything. So your contribution really should go elsewhere. It's also kind of hard to gank people when you're in inner, just because there's not much real estate. You cannot walk around a lot. So shadow stepping and that sort of thing is a bit more dangerous. So ideally when you're in this type of situation, you want to look for other tasks you could be doing. So what I, at this very moment here, decided to do is focus my attention, instead of on the Zerg, on the siege here. So what I'm doing is I'm going up and I'm clearing siege. The rationale behind this is if we can clear siege and somehow seal the keep up, then it's going to prevent their team from coming back into inner. Oftentimes, a lot of the fights that take place in keeps, it's oftentimes not a one-push victory. People will end up dying on both sides, and running back is key. If I was an offender here, if I was one of the SBI members inside that keep right now and I ended up dying, I would immediately waypoint back to spawn and I would start running back down here, hoping that the either that the siege equipment was still here or that the walls were down, just basically so I can get back with the group. So since I'm on the defending side here, my priority is to completely destroy all their siege. So you can see that's what I'm doing here. I'm not concerned about rezzing people. There's a dead guy over there. That's not the concern. The concern is we need to clear all of the siege. So as you can see right here when I pause this, there are a couple of people still coming in, a couple stragglers, but I'm not worrying about them. I think there's actually kind of a skirmish going on over there. But again, you can tell I'm not focused on that at all. All I care about is getting the siege down. The most important siege to clear first, obviously, is going to be the siege that can actually deal damage. That was a bit of a misclick there, kind of embarrassing. Didn't have the catapult targeted. But, again, you want to focus on taking out siege that can take walls down first. So catapults go down. And you can see I'm playing, obviously, Power Thief, so I'm able to do this very quickly. I'm able to clear the siege very quickly. After the catapults are down, move over to the shield generators. These obviously are not going to be able to directly get the people back into the keep, but it's still important to take these down just in case, a critical mass of enemies clusters up out here. It's important for them, so may as well destroy it. So these take a bit longer to destroy, larger health pools that these have, but it's pretty straightforward stuff here. So that was the main observation. The first thing is, look at the map for a second, for example. Our commander has come back, and the commander and the rest of our team is kind of taking care of the Zerg on inner, while I'm out here clearing siege. So again, as a thief, you want to look and prioritize maybe other objectives over just facing the Zerg, head on. So going through here, clearing stuff, I end up having a guy jump on me. I kind of just instinctually jump out of the way here because he's a warrior. So I'm down in the water here. Need to reevaluate the situation. Looks like it's not much of a problem. Looks like we also have a couple of roamers out here taking care of him. So I go in, go for a kill, but I see that he has Endure Pain. He's also almost dead, has a lot of condis on him. Actually, not that many condis, but he's basically going to go down. There's two other people focusing on him. So I kind of stick with him for a second, but then I reprioritize and go back to the shield generator here. I don't even bother to try stopping him. Thankfully, I get help from another guy here who helps me destroy the shield generator. So that was basically task 1 complete. Task 1 was removing all of their siege. If they happen to have any trebuchets or catapults across the lake, then I would have gone over and focused on those next. It turns out that they did not have any of that stuff, though. The main reason is because the way that they came in from was the northeastern walls. So at this point, kind of Stage 1 is done. Stage 1, of course, is destroying all the siege. Stage 2 is actually going and sealing the walls back up. So what I do at this moment is I look, I have 7 supply, so I go over and I start repairing the wall. Thankfully, this other guy helps out as well, and the wall gets repaired a little bit. Got in combat there, someone was attacking me, but again, I am not concerned with fighting. I am just going to be running away. So what I do at this moment is I look and I see that our keep has 94 out of 1,100 supply. So that is more than enough supply to seal a keep up. Also, I can carry a lot of supply since I have some of the unlocks and we have upgrades here at the keep. So what I do is I fly over and use the thief's mobility to quickly go over, grab some supply. I got a whole 25 supply, and I'm going to run back. Now, to repair a wall, you need to get it above 10%. So you can see that my other teammates have gotten this wall up to 12%, and there's still another wall segment that needs to be repaired. So again, using the mobility of a thief to quickly get up there. This one's already at 5%, but thankfully I think I have enough here, and I'm able to fully get this wall repaired. So there we go. The wall's been repaired. So this is a pretty critical moment now, because the Zerg, the SBI Zerg, has one of two options. They can either continue fighting inside the keep, and the only way that they can get friendlies back inside the inner part of the keep is to do mesmer portals, which can potentially be dangerous, or they can essentially, flat out retreat, or I suppose they could also just fight it out to the end, which is actually what they end up doing here. They end up getting cleared here, as you'll see. So the main objective of ours as a thief here has basically been completed. We've destroyed the siege, and we've cleared out and we've repaired the walls. So at this point, really the main contribution I can do is go in and lay poison fields down, and occasionally switch over to sword dagger and try to single people out. Alternatively, I could have scouted the outer keep and picked off any stragglers that came in, although I guess I decided for this fight may as well just stick with people in inner here. So this is just now the attrition of Zerg fighting in Guild Wars 2. So this is not a quick process. There's a lot of enemies in here, but we also have a lot of people as well. If you look at the map, you'll see that our commander has actually died a second time, but we're not really in any immediate danger. So what I'm really doing here is I'm singling people out when I can, like this, and otherwise I am essentially just going to be dropping poison fields down with the short bow, because that's the most productive thing you could really do as a thief. I don't know what the hell this guy was doing. He was way out of position, but he pays for it there. So really what we're doing now is we're kind of just clearing them out one by one. Now that we've sealed the wall, and now that they don't have access to siege equipment, really every kill that we get in here is big. It's one less person that we have to deal with. So you can see I think we end up getting a few downs here. Maybe I'm wrong. No, it looks like it wasn't at this case here. But we end up getting some downs here, walking back and forth, just trying to balance health. You don't want to go in too much if you're low on health. Poison fields, auto attack with the short bow. It's really the best you could do. I think a lot of people end up getting down here. Nope. Poor memory. This guy, another person here, kind of got singled out. I was focusing on this rev, but you could see that this guy was way out of position. And basically, this is really all there is to it now. The process is basically just going through, picking off targets here and there, and then once we reach a critical mass, we'll be able to overpower them. So the commander here on our side goes and makes a push. Looks like a pretty reasonable push to me, so I kind of go up the stairs, get a little more offensive there, else you see a pretty big cluster of enemies, so you could just see more and more poison going down. For those of you who are unaware, the reason we put poison down is because there's several reasons. First off, it's a condition which is just on them, which they have to cleanse, or if they use a cleanse, it's going to cleanse the poison maybe instead of something else, which would be better to cleanse. The second thing is poison, and the most important thing is that poison reduces healing by 33%. These Zergs are heavy on poison, or excuse me, on healing, so poison makes it much more difficult for them to really heal through it. So always having constant poison fields ticking poison, even with all the Condi cleanse, there's still going to be a lot of poison to go around. Now, of course, the damage that the poison does is kind of irrelevant. It's more about just getting poison on the targets for the reduced healing. Something I failed to mention just a second ago is that their Zerg has split in half. I'm not sure if they were going to attempt to do a Mesmer portal or if they were just not paying attention, but half of the Zerg ran out, half the Zerg stayed back here, and they are paying for it now. Our guys are basically going in here and cleaning up. You can see I pulled out my sword. If I'm pulling out my sword dagger, that means, I feel more comfortable. There's not really a lot of pressure that we're dealing with right now. So at this point, it's just clearing them out one by one, and you can see that we are just completely running them over here. So they're trying to get away, but not really much. Now at this point, we do see that the Core Guild Doc, which is the ones that ran out, I guess you could say that would be the leader over there, and some of the members with that guild. Those were the guys that left before. These guys are pushing back in. Thankfully, someone calls it out in chat, and everyone on our team was basically paying attention. We didn't really suffer any casualties here. And you can see that they're pushing in here. I end up getting out of the way. Most people end up getting out of the way here. And it's really at this moment where it's basically over. They don't really stand a chance. There are just downs all over the place. And I end up switching off here to Sword Dagger. And basically I feel confident that I'm not going to die, so I think I end up teleporting in or just running in here. I'm doing Dancing Dagger, but now you can see I'm just full on in here, cleaving him down with the sword, massive damage on the sword. And that's really about it. That's all there is to it. So, again, not that I single-handedly won this fight. By no means is that the case at all. I'm not trying to say that. All I'm saying is that my contribution as a single player, sealing the walls, destroying the siege, I was basically the only person that did that for a while. That makes a huge difference because it really prevents the enemy's ability to kind of, recoup their losses on a moment's notice. It's really not something that they can do. They would have to, at this point, they would have had to have set up siege outside the walls. Granted, the walls are low, but they would still have had to build siege, which, you have to have a critical mass of people out there in order to do that. Or they would have had to have been mesmer portaled up, which, mesmer portals are great, but you have to have a lot of coordination, moving your Zerg around, especially when it's a keep full of enemies running all around from their perspective. So, yeah, for contribution for one player, I feel like that this is something you can do as a thief, even when you are not coordinating with people over TeamSpeak or Discord or whatever communication service is being used. You can be completely by yourself, not even in a group, no communication with anyone, and you could still have significant contribution to your team. So that's really all for this video, guys. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, feel free to give the video a like, and I will see you in the next fight analysis. So take it easy.